All right, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me because I'm pretty far from the microphone, but this is going to be just a bonus session because we didn't get to it yesterday. Spent literally 3 hours just admiring your guys' beautiful work, which was wonderful and well worth the time. But I did have all this set up. It's kind of framing and kind of the finishing stages of how I get my paintings ready for galleries and all of that. So very quickly, this was a demo from class last time. And basically what I've done is taken a panel. Let me see if I can find what example of it. So here is how the panel edges normally look. Mm-hmm. And it's just raw wood. And, you know, a lot of people will leave that, especially if it's clean. And you can paint it any color. I've just taken the painting on black. I just think it looks really clean.
Oh, yeah.
And what's that?
I like that look.
Yeah, it's just really clean. Painting the edges on a canvas is a little tougher because you don't have that real sharp edge.
Right.
But it can definitely be done. I'm just going to turn this up so I can hear you guys while I walk away from the computer here. So what I do, and I've experimented with lots of different ways of painting these edges. I used to just use black gesso, but black gesso is very soft and it's easy to scratch, and it also seems to collect dust a lot. So what I did was took what I've done now is I take black acrylic paint and I mix in a bit of gloss varnish, and I just mix it into a container that I can use. And so it's just in there, and I will just dip one of these sponge brushes. Just because it has a really nice edge. Here, I'm just going to grab.
Makes sense. Is there an advantage to using a mixture like that versus just black paint from a hardware store? Because that's what I bought, is black paint from a hardware store.
Yeah, and that would probably work great as well. And I've contemplated doing that. Yeah, I just am using what I have around. And I notice having a little bit of the gloss varnish in it creates a little bit more of a crystalline. So you can see I put one coat, but then I went back and painted. So this one's a little messed up. So I would just simply take my brush. I hold the painting upside down, just that. And then I paint from the top down. Are you guys able to see this?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I just kind of lift away as I get close to the edge.
Gotcha.
And that just cleans it up. Yeah, you can see how much nicer that edge is than this edge, right?
Yep.
It dries fast. Yep.
On a canvas, would it be the same thing?
I would, yeah. It's just a little bit harder to create a real nice clean edge.
Would you ever do artist tape to get an edge where the painting is?
I would try it for sure, yeah. And then because this is an oil painting on the front, if I do get any acrylic that kind of comes across, as long as I get to it really quickly, it'll come right off. But if it does dry, it becomes a lot harder to remove. And sometimes it takes more than one coat. Oftentimes what I'll do is just have a whole bunch of these paintings kind of laying around the studio. I did like 19 of them on Monday and Tuesday. And, you know, you just kind of, the tougher part is on the last one. So you just want your painting to be dry. I can just put my hand underneath. And we're going to go ahead and frame this painting anyway. So it's not as important that I had done this, but I still think that clients kind of, you know, they know that you're doing that little bit extra work. You also see oftentimes I'll go and just paint the back edge. I just think that that looks nice and classy. And then on the back, I will put the name of the painting, which in this case is Daybreak, the size 11 by 14. I write oils, and then I sign my name. And then what I do is glue a business card to the back. My galleries love that I do that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, my galleries don't love that I do that because, you know, they're afraid now that the client can come to me directly. but I want them, if anything goes wrong with this painting, I also just feel like that's just, yeah, I'm just saying here, yeah, I'm proud of this painting. You know, if you need it, if you have any questions, there's also an envelope that I'll put together that I'll glue on the back that will have has a thank you letter in it, and also if if it needs to be re-varnished or anything like that, to reach out to me. When I have books or calendars that I'm sending, I'll just say, hey, send me your contact information. I'd be happy to send you this book as a thank you. Yeah, so this was also kind of a demo from class a couple, I don't know, 2 terms ago, whatever we're calling it, seasons ago. And it was just the dark sky with the bright foreground. So it's kind of an interesting one.
Beautiful, Michael. I love it.
Yeah, it's totally different for me. So I'm gonna let these edges dry, and then we're gonna frame it here in just a second. So I will.
How deep is that board, Michael? Is that
So,
3/4 inch or whatever?
yeah, so you can see the difference.
Yeah.
So when it's this thin, I typically frame it, or if it's just on a panel, then I frame it.
Yeah.
Unless I sell it directly, then people can decide what they want to do with it, because it's a lot less expensive if I don't frame it.
Right.
This is actually a painting I might keep here in my studio just because it's so different, and I kind of like it. So again, I'm just going to let these edges dry before I drop it in the frame here. So let's pull up another one. Let me just, here's a great hint. If you're putting your paints in another container, like this is an ice cream container, one of those fancy dark chocolate
Right.
Palenti containers. A really good thing to do is take some Vaseline and go around the lid edge, because otherwise it will, that paint will dry and become almost impossible to open this container. So just
I've been doing that on my tubes as well.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah.
Oh,
Good idea.
yeah.
I save when I empty a tube, I save my lids because I tend to lose lids.
So do I.
All right, I'm just gonna go get this brush in water so it doesn't dry. So give me 1 second.
Cheryl, I'm sorry, I missed most of your critique yesterday. So
Oh, you didn't want to see it.
I went back and looked at it this morning, and I'm sending you my virtual hug right now.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm over that hump now.
Well, some of what he said to you, I thought, well, that applies to me because, I'm
He
usually.
called me
waiting
and
for
asked me
somebody
if he
else.
was too hard on me. I said no.
That was very thoughtful.
Yes, it was.
Well, Cheryl, I missed your big painting of Peter's Mountain. That's what I'm gonna call it. I don't know what you called it, but I love that. I love that painting, and I saw it. You posted it on your Facebook site.
Yeah,
And I thought I'd see it on here in
it
Tappan.
is on here, but it's down a couple.
Oh, okay.
We kind of got stuck on the other ones and didn't get any further than that, but it's on here.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You did a great job.
Thank you.
All right, let's get back to it real quickly. So I'm just doing a real quick class. I don't know if you caught my explanation of what I'm doing here, but I had set up some stuff to talk about yesterday and we didn't quite get a chance. So anyways, this is another painting. This is based on one of the photos from one of the students. And this again, it might just be for me, I don't know. But anyways, when they're painted on this really shallow, just a straight panel, they basically need a frame unless you're really creative. So I varnished this so that the shine is pretty equal because it was different. So I have grabbed a couple different types of varnish. I just showed you the acrylic that I could use for if it was an acrylic painting. This one happens to be oils. So there are spray varnishes you can use, which are
That's what I use.
really
Yeah, I use
convenient
too.
and great. This one I actually decided I didn't want it to be glossy. because the darks were really, really shiny. So I actually, for the first time ever, used this matte finish over the top of it. If I were doing my normal way, and I guess we could try it with this, is I like this gambling product, Gamvar. And basically just like I would put a little bit of this into a plate or a little lid, and I can use the sponge brush, or I have brushes that I label literally varnish only so that I don't accidentally get paint in there. And you want your painting to be very, very dry, of course. And I will basically dip into that and scrub. Oh, there's something on this brush. Wipe that off. Well, maybe I'll just do it. Let's just go ahead and varnish it. So this is not, well, let me just do it properly. So I need to find a little tiny container to put this in. I'm just going to grab a Tupperware lid. Normally, if I'm doing a bunch of paintings, I'll bring out like a disposable plastic plate or something. That's just the little lid. It's got a little ridge to it, so I can do that. And I'm just going to put a little bit of this varnish in there. And then I'll take my varnish brush. And the truth is, when varnishing, especially if you're using this liquid varnish, less is way better. I keep thinking I'm going to shortcut the system by, you can already see the part that I varnished, versus the part that I haven't. And the cool thing is it does make the colors. Let's go up into that warm sky. And you can see how much all of a sudden the colors just come back to life.
I love how that happened.
Yeah.
Don't the brush marks show, Michael?
So this, the Gamvar is self-leveling. And then you're going to see what I'm going to do is I barely put any, I mean, I barely dip this brush into it. And I'm just going to push it as far as I can. Again, because less is better. It's better to put on 2 layers than to put on 2 thin layers than 1 thick layer. And so I almost just kind of scrub it on. As you guys have noticed in my teaching, that, you know, you guys see all the glare on it, and then all of a sudden I just take my brush and go horizontally with it, and the glare disappears. So that was kind of a good lesson for me, is realizing, oh, if I varnish it, my final brush strokes maybe should be vertically.
Makes sense.
So I would let that sit for like 1 minute or 2, and then I will often wipe it down really lightly, or take a clean brush and hit it again. So I can just grab, this is another varnishing brush that I have. The only problem is I'll have to clean 2 of them, but I didn't put any varnish on this. So now I'm just going to take and try to get off almost as much as possible. And you'll see that varnish still is there. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. It looks nice. It's shiny. It's it will dry less shiny than that. You won't have that, you know, glass.
This is your first layer, right?
I mean, kind of. I actually hit it with a matte finish first, but that was for the first time ever that I'd done that. So yeah, and again, I don't know what will happen to this painting. So if I wanted to, I could let it dry. It'll dry in about an hour or 2, and then I could see if it would like another coat. So here's a great trick for you plein air painters who have to frame it within a day or 2. You know, you're going to frame a wet painting. This is called a point gun.
Got it.
Yeah, oh, I want one of those so bad.
Yeah, they're great. So I'll show you, but what I do when I'm going to have to frame a wet painting like this one just got varnished, what I'll do is I'll take the point, put it right into the corner.
So it doesn't go against the frame.
So it doesn't go against the frame, and you won't see that point from the front if I do it right. And I've got this tiny bit of separation so that if I, you know, don't sell the painting or change my mind about the framing, all
It's
I've
easy.
done is barely, man, doesn't want to go into that corner.
So are you Michael, are you putting that in the rabbit or are you putting that in the actual down below the rabbit in the actual frame?
It is in the frame itself or right in that crease, kind of. And again, it's just gonna lift it like just barely. But what I find is then I don't have like all my edge getting destroyed by the frame if it's a wet painting, only just a little tiny piece in each corner.
So it's resting on those little points you put in.
Yeah, so then I'll drop this in, which I wouldn't normally drop it in sopping wet with varnish like this. But the great thing about the point gun is if you have a flat panel, as you guys can see how much lip I have left on the frame. So I can just take this, pushing it, I push it up against the edge, and then I can put as many or as few. You know, usually 3 or 4 per side is plenty. You can see the back of it now.
Yeah, it's very neat.
Yeah.
Very neat.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Beautiful.
So then I take my D-rings for framing.
Mm-hmm.
I already had this one wired. It's from the same size frame from a different picture. And so basically I would just grab I like the wire with the plastic over it, just so it doesn't get the weird
Coated, yeah.
Yeah. And then I have wire cutters.
Yeah, you have to have wire cutters for that, because I almost killed myself trying to cut it with just normal stuff one time.
Oh yeah, and I've
I went
ruined
out and bought them.
all of my wife's favorite scissors.
Oh, no. Oh, no. For fabric scissors? Oh, no.
So can you guys see this box back here, my
Yeah.
toolbox?
Yeah.
So in here I've got D-rings of all different sizes. I've got screws of all different sizes.
Mhm.
Usually you can get away with strangely little screws.
Yeah, yeah.
Just want to make sure they match usually. They're all gonna get mixed up in here. And then I want to show you something called offset hooks. So can you guys see this little S shape
Yes.
thing there? So they have 2 areas for screws. So if I was putting in a panel that came above the edge of the
Yeah.
frame,
Mhm.
then I can use that to grab it. The other thing is you just flip it upside down. And if I didn't have that point gun, I just put it upside down and it pushes down. I've got all sorts of sizes because I paint on all, some of them are really tall. Some of them are really short. I've even got ones that are flat, that if it was literally flat. So it's, I wouldn't say go out and buy all these materials, of course, but I've been doing this for so long that I've just gathered up so much stuff.
You accumulate it. Yeah.
You really do. A really helpful tool is this is just a leather punch. I have some actual woodworking ones that are better. This one's a little delicate and the tip will get bent, but you can buy these really cheaply. So anyways, I would figure out where do I want my, how high up do I want the wire? Make sure that I'm got the top end of the painting this way. You can measure it or you can eyeball it. And then I just put take this in there and I'm just getting a little lead hole so that I know where to screw it in.
So you don't put it like a third of the way down?
Yeah, that would be about a third.
Okay.
Yeah, I typically do. Again, this is just kind of going to be for me. It'll probably just be in the studio.
Where do you get your frames?
A number of different places. King of Frame is a good one, and they have a lot of sales out of California. But don't be misled that their big sales, all of a sudden their shipping can be really expensive, but they send them in really nice boxes. They'll send them in really nice boxes that you can reuse. So I typically try to buy in bulk. I'll literally buy $5,000 worth of frames at a time to save on shipping. you know, I'll get a whole palette of frames from time to time. Oh man.
You ever use floater frames?
I personally very, very rarely do.
Okay.
No, I have nothing against them. I think they're beautiful. I think it's a stylistic thing. I think that floaters are oftentimes a little more modern. I've been
Okay.
using this same craftsman style frame for almost my whole career. And every time I go away from it, people are like, bring it back. I'm like, okay. And
It's
I like
nice.
it because,
It's
yeah,
generic.
That
it's
looks just like some frames I got at LA Frames, La Tourette's or something, LA Frames.
yeah, I don't know that company, but I bet you they're by the same, you know, they're
Yeah, they look like it because they have the same raised corners in the back, which on you turn it over, yeah, those corners which are really hard to put dust covers on the back with those.
Yeah, I like it just because it goes in modern homes, it goes in
Yeah,
old-fashioned homes, East Coast, West Coast, because I find like when I was showing in New York and East Coast that they liked gold frames there, and gold frames will work in parts of California, but definitely not in Oregon. People don't like the bright gold. Some frames work in certain areas, so I've just found this frame is the easiest and all around, and it goes on the most things. But it's not to say that it's to everybody's taste. And now the truth is, almost all of my work goes out like this now.
Mhm.
And that is saving me so much money.
Yeah.
And if for those of you who want to know, no, I did not lower my price.
No.
Instead of raising my price, I just kept it the same, but took the frames off.
Now,
now
does
are,
your I'm sorry.
are you going to show us how you do the other ones, the panels like that?
How I paint the edges?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? You just missed it.
Oh, I did.
Oh.
Okay.
I can do
got
it.
in late.
I can do it again.
Well,
So-
if you post this, I can go back and watch it.
So yeah, what I would do is again, I just flip it over. I don't have a name for this painting yet, but typically it would be name first. And then I put the size, which of this one is an 8x10. Yeah, oils. And then if I'm being really good, I'll actually put the varnish. I usually don't put it up here. I'll put it, you know, a little more subtly somewhere. And that would be for if anything bad happened, if it got any water damage or smoke damage, and they took it to be repaired, or if it ever came back to me, like, hey, it got a little bit of smoke damage, we put it too close to the fireplace, you know, and I would just know, okay, it's this kind of varnish. I know how to remove it really simply, and I can redo it. And then I just write my name, which I usually remember how to spell it, but not always. And then let me go grab a business card. Yeah, and I simply just take my business card, flip it upside. Well, actually, I keep it. I put the glue on the image side.
When I was doing more shows and things where I had to put prices on things, I had the name and the price and the medium on the printed on the back of those cards. So I used the back to label them when they went up on the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do have friends that even write the price on the back, which I think is a very strange thing to do because hopefully it's gonna go up in value.
Yeah, don't
kind
want
of fun
that.
to know what they paid for it, and hopefully it
Do
went
you
up.
put the date?
I don't very often. If I do it. I don't put it right beside here. I'll just put it, you know, down 2024. You know, I put it a little more subtly. And then I could put, you know, Gamvar varnish. I could also do this like Sharon just said, with a sticker or you know, I don't have to put everything. I also have a thank you note that I often will put on them. Sometimes I put an envelope on the back with like my flyer and different information about me. But this is a very small painting, so you know, be getting very busy very quickly. So usually just my business card's enough and that information.
Michael, one of the things I really liked about your frame is that it looks like it's not black.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not. It's a warm reddish,
it's
brownish.
beautiful.
I like that a lot.
Very
because
beautiful.
I
Me too.
don't like black frames that much, so that's.
No. Yeah, I was literally telling my wife this morning, my frame area is just busy and full, and I'm like, I've got so many frames I'm never going to use just because I bought them cheap. I don't like them, so yeah, I don't know if I just donate them or if I try to sell them. But yeah, I just every time I try to get away from this frame, it keeps bringing me back. It's just a good all-arounder.
Beautiful.
Does it have a name?
Yeah. I'd have to look it up though.
Oh, that's
Don, I think you're right. I think it's the same molding.
Yeah, and I think the color from LA Frames is called espresso.
Yeah, and my favorite part is there's no corner. You know what I mean? Normally a frame has that split where they're put together.
Oh,
So they paint it after they put it together.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
Is it cut out of a solid piece of wood and there is no corners, or are there corners that you
No,
can't?
there's definitely corners because that's why they're putting these triangles to keep them
Okay.
together.
Mm.
You can see the split back there.
yeah.
I imagine this part maybe it doesn't have a corner, you know, and they attach it.
Everybody, I'm gonna leave. I'm sorry to leave
No,
you
no.
all. Have a good weekend or whatever.
You
wherever
too.
you are.
You too.
All right, and then last but not least, this is a great little tool to have. It's an exact match. It's for wood furniture and floor repair, and they're not very expensive. They're just markers. They have fine tip and large tip, I believe. Nope, these are just the large tip. But these are great for the, you know, getting the little scratches and stuff out of the frames. And yeah, any other questions about that? Here, I'll just give you a fake example of painting those edges. So for Donna, basically what I told everybody is that I mix, for me personally, I use black acrylic paint and a little bit of, I'd use a gloss varnish. I mix that together in a container. I use these sponge brushes. I dip it into there. I take my painting upside down and I just paint from the top down. And I kind of lift away as I get towards the image, and you end up with these just pristine lines.
Huh.
And sometimes it takes
Do
two
they
coats.
cradle your panels? When
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get them?
American Easel cradles my panels.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's not made by American Easel, I can tell, because it's not a raw birch. Yeah.
I like that. Oh, I wanted to tell you, somewhere a long time ago, I heard the following about spray varnish. You should always spray shiny gloss varnish first, like a couple of small coats, really light coats, because it fills all the little nooks and crannies. Know what I mean? It fills in all the, of course, you're on birch, so that's not, but especially on canvas, it gets down in all those little places. And then spray your mat over top of it.
That's good to know, yeah.
And that's what I do, and so far so good, because I don't like it glossy. But I learned that from somebody big on Facebook one time, and I don't remember who it was.
Yeah, and the varnish that, oh no, the varnish that I put on there is not a gloss. It's still wet, so it's pretty shiny.
Yeah.
You can see it's becoming less. This
Yeah.
one, the one I put on there is satin. But I will typically, especially if I'm sending it out to my gallery at the coast, use matte. Because their lights are really strong and kind of pinpointed.
Yeah,
Um,
they are.
So I'm just, yeah, so that's the problem. As I actually like kind of the gloss or even the satin, because it just makes the painting
Satin's good.
fresh, especially if it's about color. Because it makes the colors so nice. But yeah, then like a big painting, you can't see the whole painting because there's spots of glare and gloss on it. So you gotta, yeah. So learning about all that. Oh, and then I was going to talk really briefly just about different forms of promotion. I definitely always have multiple designs. I've got 2 different designs. Usually one of them is vineyards because that's a big part of my work. This one's just a creek. In the back, I've been using the same design for a while. Makes it easy on me. I've just got my contact information. Just makes me look like I'm a real estate agent there with my little portrait. In the last year, I started making trifolds, just because they're so easy to hand out and I can, really pick the information I want to share. I'm going to do a new one just all about vineyards here soon. This is just an insert that I can put for people that might be interested in my art as well as my classes and workshops. So that just has the information about, upcoming classes, or I try to keep it a little bit generic so, it doesn't become dated too quick. And I can just insert that right there. And oftentimes I'll even attach with a little paper clip my business card, and makes this really nice little handout for people. Sometimes I make little magnets that are exactly this same size, so people might keep them and put them on their fridge. Couple other quick things is every couple of years, I put together a book of my work, which doubles as a portfolio. So you can
That's
see, yeah, so every couple of years, there's a 4th one. I think I don't know where it is. I think it may be in the car. And I'll usually print, about 20 or 30 of them so I can sell some of them. And then I also give them to my galleries to show prospective clients. And then I will also save about 10 or so to give to my top clients from that year or the year before. And but what's also really great is this just makes a really nice, beautiful portfolio. So when I am going to go talk to a gallery or somebody that wants a commission, is I'm not taking, all this stuff. I can just show them this book. Some of them have more writing. Usually it's not. Usually, you can see some text in there. And the truth is, I just buy these from when they're on big sales from the different, these are like the books that you would get for, I went on a trip to Egypt and here's the, my photos in there. It's the same thing. So they're really easy to set up. They're made to be visual.
Like Shutterfly.
Yeah, exactly. Shutterfly. If they have a super big, huge discount, which they'll have like Friday or something, then yeah, I'll just buy a bunch. I want to keep the price at about $10 each. Normally they're about $40 each. And sometimes it means maybe I have to buy 50 of them or 60 of them, but I've never had a problem selling them to make my money back. And then I give away the rest of them to people that, I want to impress. And then last but not least, you can see this was 2022. My 2023 calendars got back and I ended up having to throw them all away. They were so cheap and horribly made. So, and then I signed it with one of those, I don't know what you call that, like a shiny pen, metal
Gold
pen.
pen, like a gold
Yeah,
pen.
and these
Metallic
are-
marker.
Metallic,
Yeah.
Yeah, metallic marker.
Cool idea.
It looks really nice. You get a whole page to display your work. So, and it's really inexpensive. People can buy these for like $15. I still make a little bit of money, but it's a great way for me to promote myself, get my work out there. I also use them for gifts, come Christmas time. So trying to remember to make them ahead of time. But people really enjoyed these. I had so many people asking me where the 2023 calendar was. I also glue my business card on the back of that as well.
Did you change suppliers that it got so much different?
Yeah. Again, I for the calendars, I try to keep them at about $3 to $4, so I can sell them at 15. And yeah, I got bit by this one. I should have bought or asked for samples. It was just so cheap. I mean, literally, if you just held it like this, pages started coming out. I got so mad. I mean, we had lots of email. They gave me my money back.
Good.
Asking if they could redo it, and I was like, I am never working with you guys again. No.
So who do you use then?
I'm not loyal yet. All these books are made by different publishers. My calendars every year has been made by different publishers. So it'd be great if I found somebody that I knew, because I'm really chasing those sales. Because I mean, I'm still going to be spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
You should check on publishers from Canada, because as a rule, well, it depends on what the money market is. But you can get it published cheaper there, probably, especially if our money's worth more, which I don't know whether it is now or not.
But shipping is high.
I use Vistaprint when I get cards and all that kind of thing. They're consistent, they're nice.
Yeah.
And they're cheap,
and their Vistaprint's nice and inexpensive. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, I like to have, one that maybe represents the vineyards, one that's more other styles. So oftentimes I'll have a whole bunch and again, with business cards, for me, I can print them, 1,000 at a time, and I'll still get rid of them. But it's nice to have a couple different images. And for 1,000 business cards, I think it's like they come out to like 10 cents each or 5 cents each.
They're cheap. What's written on the bottom there? Your name or what?
Yeah, I just put my name.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, all my contact info's on the back. Yeah, and I've just been using, this was the design I used earlier, so that it made me look cool and tough.
Oh.
Now I want to go with nice and charming.
Oh.
So I think that is
The many faces of Michael Orwick.
Yeah.
What's that?
The many faces of Michael Orwick.
Yes. Yeah. You guys have got to see it all. He can be charming, but boy, he can be mean.
He can be a tiger.
Yes. So anyways, any questions on any of that? That was a lot, but it's something I hadn't covered in quite a while.
The glue that you use, the blue glue, is that just school glue?
Yeah, it's one I found again when I was going through my daughter's drawers. It's literally classic glitter glue by Elmer's from probably when she was in kindergarten. It still works. Normally I use Mod Podge.
Yeah, I like Mod Podge.
Yeah, but I'm just using up a bunch of the supplies I found from her. In fact, I think the black that's in here is some old acrylic paint that I found in her drawers and stuff. So
I appreciate you showing us that. It gives me ideas, of course.
Good. All right, well, I can stop that recording and share it out with the group, and you guys can get back to chatting about whatever it is you guys talk about.
Well, I'm glad people didn't miss that from